Here we are again, my brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. I want to welcome you to another study of God's Word. And today we turn the page. We move into Mark chapter 5. And if you remember, at the end of Mark chapter 4, Jesus is in a boat. He's got this little armada. There are several boats crossing the Sea of Galilee. At his request, there's a huge storm. They panic, even though they're right in the middle of what they know how to do, sailing on that sea. And yet Jesus just commands the wind to stop and the waves die down, and they understand somebody's in the boat that's just phenomenally powerful, more than anything we've ever seen. Well, another characteristic that the Son of Man or God himself has to demonstrate, the Messiah, he has to conquer evil, right? And we've seen him do that already in the Gospel of Mark. But here in chapter 5, we get a prolonged story. I hope we have time to get through the whole thing this morning. Just showing us the care, the concern, the love, and the mercy God has on a man who's demon-possessed. And they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gerasenes. Now, I'll just show you this on the map. If you see on the right side, they've left Capernaum, which is up above there in the northeast corner of the Sea of Galilee. They've gone down to what's called Gergesa. This is a Gentile part of the land, but the thing you need to understand is we're really not told anything else except Jesus crosses the Sea of Galilee. Yeah, he tests his disciples in that test we saw at the end of chapter 4, but then he deals with this one guy we're going to read about today. You wonder, did Jesus really just go across the Sea of Galilee just for this one guy? I think maybe he did. Let's look at it. Here's the story. And when Jesus had stepped out of the boat, immediately, there's that word Mark loves to use, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. So there's a graveyard, something that you wouldn't go in there if you were a right religious Jewish person. It's unclean. Okay, but here comes this guy out of the tombs. He's got an unclean spirit. I'm sure the disciples with Jesus are looking at this guy thinking he's crazy, but Jesus understands what's wrong with this guy. He lived among the tombs. No one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. I just want you to see, no one could bind him. This guy has supernatural strength. This guy is uncontrollable. There's nobody in that whole region or no group of guys that can't subdue this man. No, nobody can bind him anymore. That means they've been trying, not even with a chain. They've tried a lot of different ways to keep this crazy guy that lives in the graveyard away from hurting them. He's obviously in the grasp of a very, very destructive force. Listen how he's described. For he had often been bound with shackles and chains. They've tried to keep this guy under control. The community has tried to get this crazy guy tied up. But he wrenched the chains apart. How strong do you have to be to do that? To just break through metal like that? He broke the shackles in pieces. No one had the strength to subdue him. One of the things we see in this demonic possession episode is this man has supernatural power. He has physical strength that's well beyond what a regular man would have. The demonic force in him has the ability to give him extraordinary strength. So the community knows there's a problem. The guy knows there's a problem, and he's obviously been taken over in his body, and he's living a horrible life. He's out there in the graveyard. Listen to this. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, what's this guy doing? Well, he's always crying out. I mean, this is what they call being tormented. He just has no peace, no rest, no tranquility whatsoever. He's always crying out. What else is he doing? The scripture tells us he's cutting himself. There's this level of destruction inside his heart. He wants to hurt himself. This is truly not from God. This is a demonic power putting him in this position. Well, okay, so this guy's obviously crazy. And watch this now. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and fell down before him. Now, that sounds pretty good to me, doesn't it to you? I mean, maybe this guy recognizes that Jesus is the way out of this demonic possession that has him. I'm hoping that as he runs to Jesus, he wants to talk to Jesus about, could you please deliver me? But as it turns out, that's not how the episode is given to us. Watch this. He cries out with a loud voice, and what does he say? He says, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." The demon, or as we'll find out in a minute, the legion of demons, this is just their spokesman, the demons that have this guy under their control, they immediately know who Jesus is. You're the Son of the Most High God. This is the second time in Mark's Gospel where Jesus has been declared to be the Son of God, and both times the declaration has come from the demons. You remember the first verse of the first chapter, Mark describes Jesus as the Son of God. His whole gospel is about telling us that Jesus is the Son of God. But so far we haven't had anybody that's approached Jesus through faith call him the Son of God. Instead, these evil beings, these demons, absolutely recognize Jesus. They have a theology that's better than most of ours. They have an eschatology that's better than most of ours. They know how the end is going to come. I adjure you by God, do not torment me. That means they understand that they will spend eternity in the pit under God's command. So what's this speech about? The demons are coming to Jesus and asking him for mercy. Don't torment me. Why are they asking? For he was saying to him, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. Jesus understood exactly what was wrong with this guy. He's telling the spirit to come out. The spirit's calling him by his rightful title, Jesus, the Son of the Most High God. But the demon is making a request. Please, I adjure you by God. Do not torment. They're calling on the name of God. The demons, please, by the name of God, don't torment me. They know where they're going. They don't know when, but they know where they're going. And they're absolutely destructive as they hold on to this man. So Jesus asked him a question. And Jesus asked him, what is your name? And he says, my name is Legion, for we are many. Ah, okay. They can't lie to Jesus. It might have looked like there was one demon controlling this man, but when Jesus asked the question, they have to tell the truth. There's a legion of demons. Now, in the economy of the Roman army, a legion could be up to 6,000 guys. So we don't know how many guys or demons are in this man and possessing him. What we know is they have led him to a life of self-destruction. He's in the tombs. He's cutting himself. He's crying out. He has no peace. And the townspeople must be afraid of him because they keep trying to tie him up, chain him up, shackle him up. It's fruitless. They cannot bind him. So they have this crazy guy in the graveyard running around screaming all night. Well, I guess this demonic possession that has him is trying to destroy him. Isn't that what we're told about the devil? He's like a lion that goes around seeking whom he may devour. We're not told how this man got in this position. We're just told that that's where it is. And so when Jesus is dealing with this demonic spokesman, the one that's speaking for the legion, the demon says, Jesus, I'm going to beg you. I adjured you by God not to torment us. Now I'm going to beg you earnestly. Don't send us out of the country. In other words, Jesus, I'm begging you because I know I have to obey whatever you say. And I know that with a word, you can make me do whatever you want. Okay. I'm asking you not to send me out of the country. Don't send us out. We know we're leaving this guy. Now the question isn't whether we're leaving or not. The question is, where are we going? All right. Well, now there's a great herd of pigs is feeding there on the hillside. This is another clue to us that we're out of Jewish territory and into Gentile territory, because a Jewish person viewed a pig as an unclean animal and would never be working with a herd of pigs. Okay? So there they are. They're on the eastern shore of the Sea of Galilee. Here comes this crazy guy. The demons know who Jesus is, and Jesus is negotiating with them about where they're going to go at his command. They're begging him not to leave the country. They see this great herd of pigs there on the hillside. And so what do the demons do? They begged him. Again, Jesus, we know you have the power to do with us whatever you will. We beg you, send us to the pigs. Let us enter the pigs. Does that mean that demons can enter animals? Well, I guess it does, because that's exactly what happens. You know, just as a side note, as we pursue this passage, a lot of us want to look at illnesses as, you have a chemical imbalance or something's wrong. I mean, think about schizophrenia, think about various things, think about animals that go crazy. Maybe their chemistry's messed up, we say, or maybe we should give them this or that to help them. And I'm not discounting medicine. Maybe there is a physical solution that works, but I think as Christians, we need to recognize that the spirit world is real, the spirit world exists, and that there might be another explanation for why somebody is acting crazy. Maybe there's a deeper problem in terms of what influence Satan has in their lives. Well, okay, back to the story. They beg him to go into the pigs, so he gave them permission. I just want to keep pointing this out. How many times does this little story tell us that the demons are completely subject to Jesus? They can't go anywhere until he gives them permission to go. They make a request and he grants the request. That's why they move. Okay, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs. All right, well, there you have it. The man's delivered. And the herd, numbering about 2,000, that's a lot of pork, right? They rushed down the steep bank into the sea. So they head right for the Sea of Galilee, and what happens? They drown in the sea. So these demonic spirits want to go into the pigs instead of having to leave the country or go into torment at this time. Jesus gives them permission. They enter the pigs. The pigs commit suicide. In the end, they die. Okay, so think about the shock of what's going on here. The herdsmen fled. Yeah. Okay, so the guys in charge of the pigs, they see all this take place. They run. They told it in the city. They told it in the country. They're telling everybody this guy named Jesus showed up on the boat. He got out of the boat. He had this conversation with this crazy guy that we've never been able to bind. And this crazy guy is now normal. But the pigs received the demonic spirits and killed themselves. And the people came to see what it was that had happened. So now you have a whole region of people understanding that something spiritual, supernatural has taken place. And they came to Jesus, and they saw the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion, sitting there, clothed and in his right mind. Now, who has the power to do that? Well, the only one that has the power to do that is the Lord himself. And they know there's a supernatural event, but what is their response? And they bowed down and they worshiped him. They acknowledged him as God. They praised him. They thanked him. None of that. They were afraid. Okay, Jesus, we saw your power demonstrated. Now we're scared. And those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and to the pigs. The story gets relayed. What's their response? And they began to, oh, here's another instance of somebody begging Jesus. Only this is very different. They begged Jesus to depart from their region. Hey, you killed all our pigs. We're more interested in the commerce that you've destroyed than in the healing of this man who was formerly crazy through demonic possession, but now is completely healed. We'd rather have our job and our community economy back than we'd have this guy healed. Jesus, we beg you, not to save us, not to heal us. No, we beg you to leave. We reject you. Get out of here. We don't want you around here anymore. So, as he was getting into the boat, what happens? Jesus says, okay, if you don't want me, I'll leave. He gets back in the boat. Well, the formerly demonically possessed man runs up to him. He was getting into the boat. The man who had been possessed with demons begged him. There it is again. Now we have the formerly demon-possessed man begging Jesus that he might be with him. Lord, you just saved me from a horrible fate. Please allow me to come with you. I want to follow you physically. I want to be with you. You healed me. And what does Jesus say? He did not permit him. Jesus said, no, I don't want you to come with me. Well, Jesus, what do you want me to do? Well, but he said to him, go home. Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. Look at this. The formerly demon-possessed guy, the guy that was possessed by a legion of demons, is now being commissioned by Jesus to be a missionary to his own hometown, to his friends, really to the whole region. It's a very interesting development, don't you think? I mean, some of us think, oh, we've done things that are so bad, God could never use us. Look at this. Jesus says to this formerly demon-possessed man that he has delivered, I want you to go testify to my power and tell people about what God has done for you, how he's shown you mercy. That's what I want you to do. Now, one true sign of true conversion is obedience. And he went away. And he began to proclaim in the Decapolis, just to give you that, that's like a whole region, okay? That's like 10 cities, a Decapolis, in that eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. He began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And everyone marveled. Yeah, I guess so. Aren't you the formerly crazy guy? Can you imagine that testimony? Yeah, well, I used to be possessed by thousands of demons, naked and crazy in the graveyard, cutting myself, shouting all the time, no peace. And then Jesus healed me. That's a testimony right there. But the point is, Jesus uses him. So, Jesus does what? He demonstrates the power over the demonic world, the spirit world. Everything happens at his bidding, his permission. He experiences rejection again. Even though he's doing what's right, people push him away. Why? Because they're not interested in knowing God. They're interested in making money. And then he uses a guy whose life used to be so messed up before he met Jesus. And this guy, we'll see later on, this guy has an impact that will play out later on in the gospel. We'll get there soon enough. Church, I pray God blesses you, and I pray you serve him well, and I pray you just rejoice at the power of the Lord we serve. God bless you.